Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I have a network update for you guys from Verizon. So over the weekend, I did some research. I drove around town and I spotted 4 new site ads for Verizon, I would say over the last 6 weeks. And 3 of those were new builds, brand new sites that they built and constructed. And then one was a co-location, which is what you see here. This is the co-located site. Now, why is this so important? Well, recently Verizon stated that they no longer need cell sites, that they don't have to build any more cell sites because they're dense enough. While that is true on the urban level, overall, some areas and some cities and towns still need to fill in some of that densification. One thing about Verizon and what they're so great at, they're really good at pre-planning. So a lot of these sites that are going up here have been planned for 2 years ago that are now being approved. So it takes about between 18 to 24 months to get a site fully approved, especially new builds. They take about that long to go through the zoning process, and the city has to go see where it's being built at, and then the owner of the land has to be involved. So it takes about 18 to 24 months to fully get a new cell site approved. And then you got to get contractors licensed. You got to pay somebody to go do it. In some cases, it's another contractor. Several contractors are needed. I've seen some areas that they needed to build center blocks to kind of build a structure around the site and cabinets. In some areas it's fencing. So there are several contracts that go out for several companies to help construct the site. Now, like I said, Verizon's the best at pre-planning. So here they are filling in the additional density that is needed for some of these areas. So why is this important to Verizon? Well, it helps them with the higher band frequency. They got 3.5 CBRS. C-band will be around 3.7, 3.9. And they are very confident that C-band will match the propagation of AWS and PCS. So they like the propagation characteristics of C-band. That means they've been testing it inside labs, and they really like the propagation, which is good because it fits most of their current grid. Most of their current grid is spaced for AWS PCS. They made it no secret. They stated that on the analyst day, and some of the interviews after, they stated it very clearly that they no longer needed, from an overall picture, that they no longer needed the density necessary. Again, Verizon doesn't speak specifically on certain parts of your city or town. They just speak from an overall grid. So yes, in New York City, they may need some, a metro cell or another tower, depending on area, to fill in densification. But that's coming. They know, Verizon internally knows what's pre-planned, what's coming, what's been approved. So they know where the network is going, even within the next 3 to 6 months. So they're building the grid to support C-band, and in some cases, millimeter wave goes on macros. We've seen that, and CBRS has also been spotted going up on macros. Now, this morning I was listening in on a podcast where Verizon was featured, and it sounds that CBRS is mainly small cell centric. So they're looking at, mainly small cells to fill in with CBRS, and then that C-band will go on macros, which is fine. Will CBRS end up on some macros? Sure, I've seen it. It's in fact happening. There are CBRS panels are going up on some macros, but I don't see that being I don't see it being on all macros, or that even being in the plans. So again, from a networking standpoint, I got to point out Verizon won't be out networked. That's just not going to happen. They've been invested too deeply. They spent too much money for that to happen. They're going to maintain the best in class network. It's going to happen. There's nothing that anyone can say that'll change my mind. One thing that we can debate on all day long is their go-to market strategy. We can talk about that all day long. And you know, 9 times out of 10, I'll likely agree with you. Are they going to lose customers? Yes. Is T-Mobile going to take share? Yes. That's going to happen. I don't like Verizon's strategy currently the way it stands. The fact that they're going to charge people a premium to get access to C-band, I think, is a huge negative. I think it'll backfire. I think they lose on that perspective. Their go-to market strategy, I think they lose. I think the consumer will correct them. The consumer will speak with their wallets. They will go to another carrier. They will go to AT&T, T-Mobile, because both of them are better positioned, more competitive, or they'll choose an MVNO that runs on the Verizon network. Either way, I don't think that strategy is going to work. 50% of its base to be on premium, that's a long shot. I don't see that working. Again, like I said, I call everyone out. Do I believe Verizon will have the best network? Yes, I believe it. They're building something. I've seen some internal stuff. They're building something that is going to be hard to be withstood by any other company. The massive investment, they're really pushing the envelope in terms of a real 5G experience. Now, again, like I said, we can debate all day long. I don't think their go-to market strategy is efficient. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to backfire. I think they will have to make a market correction within the next 6 to 12 months. Q1 earnings are going to tell us a big story. It's going to tell us everything. If Verizon comes in low, then there's trouble in Verizon land. I'll go on record now and say it. If they come in very low compared to the competition, there's big trouble there. There's trouble that's going to come, and they'll have to correct it, especially as most are anticipating the second half of the year to go back to normal volume. And if Verizon still comes out lower, there's going to be issues. I know Verizon is anticipating it internally. They've said it that they're no longer going to grow at volumes that many are expecting. They're looking at gaining the premium customer on the premium network to pay a premium price. That's what it's going to come down to for Verizon. They're taking on the Donovan, I believe was his name for AT&T, and Randall Stevenson strategy. If you don't want to pay the price for the premium network, leave. They're not saying that directly, but that's the strategy that they're taking on. Because the customer that's on the starter plan, that's just going to be on DSS, they're not going to have the same experience as the customer that has access to CBRS, C-band, and ultra-wideband on the ultra-wideband network. So they're labeling all of their higher frequency, more bandwidth spectrum ultra-wideband. I don't know if CBRS makes that ultra-wideband list. It might, as they transition that to NR. So that remains to be seen. But for sure, they stated that millimeter wave and C-band will be part of the ultra-wideband network, which you will only get access to or unlock it if you are part of the premium plan. That's part of Verizon's growth. That's how they seek higher ARPU and ARPA. That is, I'm telling you right now, that is not going to work. It's not. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work on two ways. People that have the starter are not going to upgrade to a more premium. That's just, that's not going to work. And then the people that have some of the older unlimited plans are also not going to get out of those to get onto the premium. So if Verizon at some point cuts those customers off, they'll likely just leave. They'll likely just leave. They will, because that's a conversation that I see transpiring between Verizon customer and customer service. Customer calls in on the starter plan, says, "Hey, network is slow. I'm experiencing buffering. I can't send certain stuff." And then the customer service is like, "Well, you're not on our best plan and you're not experiencing our best network." I think that's how in the future the conversation could go between the two. And then they're going to be like, "Well, you get on our Get More Unlimited, you get C-band, millimeter wave, CBRS, and all our other spectrum assets." So that's what I see transpiring between the two, conversation-wise. And that's just an example. I don't know by fact, but I could see that conversation taking place, especially if Verizon incentivizes customer service with commission on upgrading customers into the Get More Unlimited plan. So again, this is just a brief update letting you guys know that Verizon is still aggressively adding densification in parts of towns where it does lack densification. Of course, that makes the network better on all fronts, LTE, DSS, and whenever C-band becomes a part of the network. It's being deployed. I'm already being sent documentation that Verizon's already looking at permitting, getting ready to deploy C-band on some cell sites. So I have seen what the sites are going to look like, how they're going to be constructed. So it's honestly, to be honest with you guys, it's going to look very similar, if not identical, to what you're seeing on T-Mobile, with the smaller panel, the massive MIMO panel, and then whatever other panels Verizon adds to their setup. I mean, of course, they won't have the N71 big panel. They won't have that because they don't own that spectrum. But the setups are going to look very similar. So you'll see the massive MIMO C-band panel to the left, which is the same that T-Mobile uses, especially in Ericsson, the 6449. And then off to the right, you'll see like two more panels. So it'll be a very similar setup, not too different. So be on the lookout for those. As soon as I get pictures, of course, I will update you guys on the channel. So if you have been on the channel or you're new to the channel and you have not yet liked, shared, subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Make sure to follow the social media outlets for more updates and interactions. Thanks again for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.